Hi everybody, welcome back. Um, Today's video, I just want to talk about three ways that alcohol was controlling my life. I've mentioned in previous videos, I was just a quintessential British binge drinker when I was growing up. Just a lot around booze, basically, and boozing in general. You would have, you know, basically all your weekends revolve around getting drunk and going to the pub and going to nightclubs and I mean, when you're stuck on the TV, it was all kind of rock and roll lifestyle. That was a cool thing to do. Pretty much everyone smoked, everyone drunk, and great times. But there was just, I think everybody turned into pretty much a binge drinker, and you see that nowadays. I'm 41, so I see loads of my friends are in the same boat still. Maybe a bottle of wine at night, still out at the weekends, etc. And I just think growing up in that time, it was just in our DNA pretty much, and it's not until you're actually outside the circle. I think they talk about that a lot when people are in cults, obviously not comparing boozing to being in a cult, or maybe, you could call some cultish behavior in pubs with locals and, everyone doing the same thing and it's quite clique and yeah, but it's not until you're out that you realize kind of what you were in. And I just, there are points that I did realize that boozing was kind of controlling my life at times, not controlling life, I guess, but making a big impact on it and controlling it in some sense as well. And make definitely making decisions based on alcohol. So there's three things. There's a lot more, but I think these are the three things that I've highlighted that are kind of quite important to me. And the first one is super important, something you can't get back, which is time. First of all, the evenings, especially in winter. Um, I would kind of finish work, it's a lot. I think for a lot of people, I was actually quite lucky because I didn't drink between 2017 and 2022 when COVID was there. So I know a lot of people fell into bad habits, but for me, it was the once I started drinking again in 2022, 2023, and falling into bad habits, as we all do. And thankfully now I'm back on my journey since July. And it was just the evenings, especially during winter, where everything pretty much just revolved around when and kind of how much I would drink. A lot of sports on, Wednesday nights, Tuesday nights, especially if you like watching football. There's a lot of darts on these days, snooker, all sorts of sports. And in America, you'll get the daily sports as well. And it just really, I think, controlled a lot of my time. Maybe not so much the Monday, Tuesdays when I was still suffering from the weekend, but it's definitely on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday when you start feeling good again. And I think for me, like I say, that was just, it's an absolute time suck when you think how much time you wasted just thinking about alcohol at nights. It would, for me, it would just be the usual stick on the TV and crack a beer open, and before you know it, you're 5, 6 deep. And the next day, of course, you pay the price as well. You're waking up. Nothing worse when you wake up and you know you need to get out of bed and you're working that day, especially if it's a Thursday. Maybe on a Friday, you might think of one shift and that's me going through. But it definitely had a control on my day there. And you're waking up with your hangover, you're just putting in probably 50% of the effort quite a lot of the time. You can do more, so that kind of annoys you a bit. And you think this is going to be a long day. uh, and you're just trying to kind of recover, which is just a really bad thing. And then even when you go into the weekends with regards to kind of controlling my time, the weekends normally felt so short. If I'd been out on a Friday, Saturday, you're waking up feeling a bit under the weather, and then the first thing you need to think about is, oh, I might need to just go out and get a beer to try and level this hangover. It'd be all right if I maybe didn't have too much to drink, but if it was a heavy 2, 3 in the morning session, and you wake up and you're still half drunk, you're kind of thinking just from experience. We call it the hair of the dog. Not sure what everyone calls it elsewhere, but we would just, you would just have to go to the pub, and it's just amazing. After a few drinks, you feel better. Although you feel better, but you're not feeling great. You're still feeling awful, but better than very awful. And it's just one thing where you look back and think how it had such a impact on all my time, during the weeks, the nights, uh, time off. It would just be, let's get hammered, and then all that recovery. And it's something that you can't get back. And there's that saying that because everyone always bemoans the fact that they stopped and they drunk for so long and now they've stopped. But there's that good saying that the best time to quit was 20 years ago or however long it was, and the second best time's now. So I try not too much dwell on it. But like I say, it's not until you're kind of out of that circle that you realize how much time you actually wasted. Another thing that you realize is just how it controlled your mind with regards, well, first of all, to your social events. Just kind of dawned on me that everything I kind of did at the weekend involved had a bar there. You can go to play darts, there's a bar there. Go and play bowling, there's a bar there. You go to the football or a sports event, the rugby, whatever. You go to the pub first. And I actually used to go, for example, to the cinema all the time, and then it's not then up until from 2022 to this year when I stopped again, and I plan never to drink ever again. I'm feeling great and have such a good outlook on life now, and I know what's going to happen if I end up going back. But like I never went to the cinema, for example. You know, even I loved going to the cinema, but it was just when an offer comes through, and an offer in your brain might just be the offer to sit there and watch TV and buy a six pack and get a takeaway. I mean, that trumps going to the going to the cinema any day. You're not going to. I don't want to sit there. Time I get up, can't get a drink. I really wouldn't mind a Guinness. It's sunny outside. Any excuse. So all my social plans ended up being around booze. And like I say, I can't think of anything I did because even when you're going out to a friend's house, you can always crack one open. You know, And even when you're going uptown, we have a lot of beautiful gardens here in Edinburgh. You're allowed to drink outside, so it's, oh, do you want to go up to the parks? Do you want to do this? Why not? I can get a six pack on the way or a four pack, and it is pretty ridiculous. So all my social decisions were just revolved around can I get a pint? It just kind of controls your mind, and also those hangovers, you know, control your decisions as well, and your mood and your confidence. I'm quite a genuinely a really happy guy, I think, and since I've quit boozing again, my moods have just been so good, consistently good. But with the booze, your mood goes up, and if you can't get your way with going socializing, oh, you'll need to do this and this today. You're like, oh well, can't really get a beer there, and then that's going to kind of ruin the whole day. And then you're not too happy. And I actually remember, having plans where I couldn't, say wouldn't if normally. I would not. I'd be fine if I hadn't drunk for a few days, and then you have to do something, and that's fine. I'm not had a beer in a few days anyway. Because as I mentioned before, I was just a binge drinker all the time, and you end up. And I remember quite a few times where I'm thinking, "Oh no, I was out the night before. I really need a beer, but I can't really sneak one in. I don't want to stink of booze because I actually have some self worth. I don't want to be, like say, stinking of vodka or alcohol or beer or whatever." And all of a sudden, plans change. Oh, we don't need to do that anymore. Or you want to do this, and then all of a sudden, there's a bar there, and I'm the happiest guy ever. And it's ridiculous. And I'm not stupid enough to realize that happened, and that's one of the tiny things that end up making that big decision to quit again. But you're sitting there, I'm thinking I was in a foul mood, just feeling sorry for myself 2 minutes ago, 1 minute ago, and then you get one text message saying this is cancelled, and then I'm thinking, oh great, I can now go to the pub to meet my other friends. Happy days. and that's just something that it just shouldn't happen. And the third and final point is it just controls your health, and you don't really notice it. I mentioned in the previous video about sleep. Just never get proper REM sleep. You're always kind of tired, that constant fatigue. And again, you make, in the low motivation, and you make decisions based on that. You know, the amount of times had friends saying, "Do you want to go out for a walk in the countryside?" And I'm just like, I'm so tired. I can't be bothered. I can't be arsed. I'm not going to go. And that's just a complete, like I say, controlling thing as a result of the booze. You don't really realize it at the time, but and I know for a fact, like I do now. I mean, I went out for two massive walks yesterday, and I absolutely loved it. But I know for a fact if I'd had beers last night today, I would just couldn't be bothered. I'd still be in bed, to be honest, but I would just absolutely couldn't be bothered. And also the anxiety that comes with that. You end up not doing stuff because you're just so anxious. Where that might be, you just don't want to go outside. You can't be bothered meeting a group of people, and because your mind's in overdrive, and you just need to be on the couch yourself, kind of stewing in your self pity, I guess, and worrying about nothing as always. And like I say, you end up turning down decisions to do stuff. I've heard from friends, and I've seen in other YouTube videos where people have so bad anxiety that they're too scared to drive see their parents. They're too scared to jump on planes for events, or too scared to go to weddings because they just can't handle themselves. Luckily, I wasn't on that level, but it controls so many of my Sundays and Mondays where I'm just like, I just don't want to do anything because I just feel that odd anxiety or the fear, um, and it's just terrible. And with regards to controlling health, your weight gain, I definitely gained 1 or 2 kilos. Luckily, again, I don't gain too much weight if I eat, but I do try and, even when I was drinking, watch what I eat, not eat too many pizzas and takeaways, etc. And you have the weight gain, and then you have the bad skin as well. And I had that get really bad, kind of red blotchy marks if I drunk too much, and I think that was just a mix of, your skin's so dry, you're filling your body with crap. So your body's obviously thinking like, what am I actually do? What's going on here? And then that mixed in with the anxiety as well, and it was just a really bad mix. But it's amazing that all these things I've spoken about, the things on your mind and your mood and your confidence and your fitness and your health, your skin, the anxiety, and how you have so much more time at the weekends, and no hangovers, no recovery period, feeling great, free evenings, loads of time on your hand. All that can be solved by just not drinking. You don't need a pill. um you don't need anything. You just need to make that decision one day that I'm just not going to drink this stuff that's a rip off. Well, it's a rip off now anyway in the UK to drink. It's bringing me all those issues, and those 9 or 10 issues I just mentioned, like around anxiety and fitness and mood, and your weekends and getting time with your kids if you got kids or nephews and nieces, is all sitting there for you if you just don't drink. Thanks for listening. Uh, I'm releasing daily videos at the moment, so hopefully you like them. And I've got a playlist there as well if you want to kind of start from the beginning and work your way through. Um, yeah, so just another day. If you're struggling, just keep going. Try and keep busy. Write down what your plan is. Try and stick to that plan. You've got this, and I wish you the best of luck getting through the day, and you can do it. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll chat in the next one. Take care. Bye.